So welcome back to my next angling adventure, and for this session I have ventured down to Longbridge Lakes in Romsey. Now, just like my last video, I am starting it off in the car, so I've arrived sort of an hour or so early because I want to just go and have a little look around, see what I've got to play with and just get the lay of the land, as like I always like to do. But yeah, not only that, it's another wet start to the session, so it's going to be a case of chucking the boots on, chucking a coat on, and yeah, just going to go and brave the elements for sort of 15-20 minutes, have a little look around and just see where the other anglers, there's a few cars in the car park, where those other anglers are, and just yeah, like I say, the swim layout and bits and pieces like that, just get a little feel for the lake itself. So today we've got some proper autumnal conditions. We've got some real blustery winds, we've got sporadic heavy showers, we've got that real sort of nice autumnal sunshine that's going to be breaking through at some point as well. And not only that, the temperatures look really good as well, so they're saying that it could potentially get up to around sort of 18 degrees and anything between sort of 12 to 15 degrees overnight. So got some of that, you know, got that real mild sort of wet and windy autumnal sort of feel to it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if the yeah, if the fish switch on and give me a chance of putting one or two on the mats. So what I can do then is just sort of hatch a little plan of attack, really, whether it's just go and chuck the bivvy up on a swim that I see anything in, you know, just play it by ear really. I don't really want to commit too early on into the session. You know me, I like to sort of stay as mobile as I can as possible. So if, like I say, if it's just a case of chucking the bivvy up and just taking the rods and you know, just general bits and pieces that I'll need to start with, then I can do that. But yeah, let's get the boots and coat on, and let's go and have a little look. It, I've loaded the barrow and brought it with me, so I've done one really quick lap already, and I thought, you know what, it's a bit of a maze. There's quite a few different little places these fish could be hiding. I'm gonna, whilst it's dry, I'm gonna pack the barrow and bring it with me. But yeah, I'm already sweating. But look at this place, it is mega. So many little nooks and crannies that these fish could be hiding in, but look at this. So got a real good amount of open water, island in the middle. It goes up to a corner bay around there, sort of 3 or 4 pads, sets of pads of lily pads, another set of lilies here, down in this corner, mega little set of lilies down here. Wind's real sort of pushing in here as well, not actually seen anything as of yet. It goes obviously around the back of the island, a real sort of narrow channel which takes you down into a sort of finger towards the car park. Then over there where the sort of aerator is, that goes right down into sort of like a canal. It's like a finger, like a canal type finger, really narrow, packed full of lilies. And yeah, there are just so many places that these fish could be hiding. Well, I think for now, anyway, I think I'm going to plot up in this swim. It's a bit of a triple swim. There's like one right there, one that I'm stood in, and kind of one over my shoulder as well. But it gives me the best visibility of pretty much all of the lake, all bar the other side of the island, where there's obviously a narrow sort of run through, and the canal. But not only that, I'm on the back of the wind, so if I do hear anything boshing that I haven't seen here, it can only be in one of 2 places. That's either obviously the other side of the island or the canal. Just being on the back of the wind, it just gives me a little bit of an edge where I can use my ears as well as my eyes. And not only that, in this swim I'm away from the other anglers that are opposite me, so I'm leaving them to do their own thing as well. There's 4 rods already down there on the end of the wind. I've come right on the opposite side, and I can see pretty much, as I said, 90% of the lake, all bar the 5% down the side of the island and the other 5% on the canal side. So I've got a few options in this swim as well. I've got obviously to the face and the sort of back of the island. I can bait and spoon one over to sort of like the mouth of the channel where there's a bridge that takes them, you know, takes the fish down to the channel. And I've also got eyes on that far corner where there's a good sort of 5 sets of lily pads down there as well. Quite big sized pads as well. So plenty of space for the fish to go and hide themselves. So there's no one else here yet bar me and the other anglers on the opposite side. Obviously I will have to just play it by ear as more people turn up as and when, but for now I feel like this will be my best bet to give myself a few different options to play with. I can use 3 rods, I can just sort of dot solid bags around with the bait and spoon nice and quietly and discreetly, and yeah, not overcommit to anything before I've even started. So it does give me so many options to play with, and plus full visibility of the lake. So let's go and retrieve the barrow from around the other side, get a few rods set up, and yeah, see how the sort of first few hours pan out at least, and see if they give themselves away. The rain's settling in, and yeah, it is proper lashing it down. Thankfully I managed to get the last rod out just in time, just a case of now sitting back and watching over the water and seeing if I can see any shows, really, see if I can see anything happen at all. The evening's drawing on, it's coming up to around 5:30. I've had the rods in, been down to the car, grabbed some spare clothes just in case I need them, some spare socks, etc. Because you would have seen I got caught out on my last session, so I've been down to the car and grabbed those. I'm going to have a little change up on a couple of the rods. Now I've been breamed out on a couple of the rods, so I'm probably going to stick with one on a solid bag, but switch the other 2 to lead clips and slip D rigs, just because I don't really want to be getting up and down through the night for bream. So it just allows me to up the hook bait size but still fish sort of like over my sort of usual mix, edge pellet, creamy, you know, raw marine pellet, etc. But it just allows me to up the sort of hook bait size, which will hopefully deter those. But yeah, other than that, the day's been pretty sort of uneventful, really. In and out of the bivvy when it stopped raining, unhooking bream and slipping them back, and now I just want to get prepared for the night. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. Quickly switch the rods up for lead clips, get them out there, and tomorrow I've already got a plan of attack in my head, what I'm going to do, so I'll be up bright and early. So for now, let's get these rods sorted for the night. So there we go then, the converted setup, still on the leadless leader, nice and supple, nice and heavy, converted to a lead clip, so just a weed green colour, ever so slightly just nicked on the end of the lead clip, so that will come off with pretty much minimal pressure, and the lead will just slide up the lead clip and drop off if it needs to. Then again, just the mini anti-tangle sleeve over the quick change swivel, and then down to, you would have just seen the slip D rig. So I'm going to go in with a Royal Marine on one and a Creamino wafter on the other one, so slightly bigger in size, hopefully a little bit more bream deterrent, and then I'll just load up the spoon with some freebies to go alongside it. Probably just stick a little nugget of foam around the hook just to be on the safe side. But yeah, that is the converted setup for 2 out of 3 rods. There we go. Nice, really clean common for my efforts. My eyes are still a bit blurry. I was well out, and to be quite honest, I generally did think it was a bream because the bite to start with was a bit twitchy, bit up and down. But once I got him in the margins, he was storming all over the place. Did not want to get his head up. But yeah, really nice, clean one for my efforts. So I'm going to get a quick couple of pictures, and then we will slip it back, get the bait and spoon back out, get it straight back over to the face of that island, drop the rig, and hopefully there's another one to come. Right, well, it's finally let me lift it up for the camera. He's probably fighting more now on the mat than he did whilst out in the water. I generally didn't know what I was attached to be quite honest, because he'd done absolutely nothing at all. But yeah, the second fish, 7 AM morning muncher. Sun is just starting to rise over my shoulder, but I'll happily take that. Another one on the middle rod and another one on those sort of stepped up sized Creamino wafters. So yeah, really happy with that. Obviously I'd kind of said to myself in my head, if nothing happened by the morning, I'd be packing up and moving. But I've seen two shows since, one just before having this fish and one whilst I just sort of landed it just behind it. So you never know, there may well be another one on the cards. So there we are then, the other side of that fish. Can't complain, 2 bites in the space of about what, 4.5 hours. So hopefully the day is just as rewarding. Right, well, I have packed up and moved, barrows loaded. Couldn't really sit around there much longer. It was yeah, getting a little bit too chaotic for my liking. So as I said, there's a bit of a sort of narrow finger canal type section to this lake, so I thought I would come down and have a little look. Now there is someone right up the far end in like the first swim, so I'm just going to come down out the way of him and potentially just bait a few spots. So basically it runs from right down here all the way up, basically where it takes you to the sort of entrance to sort of like the main lake, and yeah, it just runs all the way up, and it just gets sort of slightly like wider and thinner the further it sort of comes down. But there's lilies, there's little pokey little areas in between the overhanging trees. You know, they come out a good, I don't know, 15 foot at least. You can imagine fish holding up underneath there, out the way of all the pressure. Like I say, it comes all the way up here into this little sort of tiny little pokey corner. So I think what I'm going to do is just sort of bait a few little spots like in close off the lilies, spray a little bit of pellet on the far side, and just keep walking up and down, up and down. Well, I just want to take a moment then to just show you kind of what I did when I was over in my original swim where I've caught the 2 fish from. Obviously with it being so rainy and windy and everything yesterday, I didn't actually have the opportunity of just showing you quickly on my phone on the Fish Deeper app exactly what I found when I pushed the deeper out, and sort of areas that I tend to look for when fishing these sorts of little waters when I've got the sort of chirp mounted to my rod or my baiting spoon. So I've got the I've got the scan up because the beauty of the app is that it saves all of your scans in your smartphone, so you can go back and watch them over and over. They're stored on your device and stored on the cloud, so really helpful. If I was to ever visit this venue again, then I've got them all stored in there for me to just brush up on my homework before I've even got to the lake. So let me zoom in on here and just focus on my phone. So on here you will see, if I can press the play button, that when I was pushing it out, it was around sort of 3.8, moving down into the deeper sort of 5.5 foot, and as you can see there, it's gone from really soft to really hard. And then if I pause it there, you will see that glowing yellow bottom, and that's what I was looking for, something that's just a little bit different. There's a good sort of 1.5 foot from the silty stuff as I was starting to push the bushwhacker out, and it started to drop off into slightly deeper water. This was getting closer to the island, so it seems like there's some sort of little gully that may run around the sort of front facing edge of that island. And then the difference between, look, that bluey, orangey, reddy colour, then into that bright yellow, which means it's mega clean. You can see all the detail underneath, all the little fish. Look, absolutely loving that area. But funnily enough, I didn't get breamed out on that spot or plagued by any smaller fish. But then if you look, you can see exactly where I dropped my rig. Look at those lines coming down. That's where I was tipped my spoon, left the spoon there, and it's picked up the line dropping through the water. And I obviously just then picked up my rod and just moved it aside so that the bait and spoon wouldn't catch the line on the way through. But yeah, look, the quality and the crispness of this scan has picked up the fact that I've dropped my rig through the water there in the middle of that scan. Look, so it picked up my line going through the water column and hitting the lake bed. But yeah, that is exactly what I was looking for, and that's the spot, the dummy 2 fish, that mega clean, mega glowing yellow spot just there. And then basically what I did was just replicate that over the other 2 rods. Found a couple of other areas that were really clean amongst, softer lake beds, but unfortunately I got breamed out on my right hand one, which was against the lilies, and my left hand had done nothing all night. So it just goes to show, investing a little bit of time to get that spot right, to find the cleanest spot possible, it's got me 2 bites. And now that's exactly what I've done on here as well, even though I've kind of gone against obviously the far bank where this all this sort of overhanging trees and shrubbery is and stuff like that. Again, I kind of just shipped it in to the point where I found again another, the cleanest area possible. So I will try and find that scan for you now as well, very quickly. So where are we looking? There we go. So exactly the same again. So the dark reds and the purples with a softer bottom, and then the further I pushed it in towards the sort of overhangs and the snags on the other side, again it's glowing yellow. And again, you can see there exactly where I dropped my rig out the spoon, and you can also see, look, all of the pellet and stuff like that falling down as well. That little sort of cloud is my rig and the freebies going down with it. But as you can see from the lake bed, nice and firm, nice and hard, really presentable. And I know underneath that canopy that I'm going to be presented absolutely bang on. So it's around 3 foot under there, with this sun sort of coming up over my shoulder. It's sort of illuminating this bank when the sun breaks through the clouds. So nothing's happened yet, but I know that I've done everything I can. The rigs are presented, they're in absolutely bang on spots. It just takes one or two fish to mooch in down this canal sort of channel area underneath these trees, and there's a couple of traps waiting for them. So yeah, fingers crossed it pays off. I'll give it a couple more hours, and then I'll probably look to move around to the main lake and try that other little sort of channel area that I pre-baited this morning. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but I am back in the swim I was in last night. barrow's been loaded again. It just did not happen down there. Spent a good 2.5 hours down there, didn't see a fish, any sort of inkling of fish activity. And I think generally if the fish were there, they would have come in underneath the canopies of those trees, and I think you would have been able to get one relatively quickly, I think, if they were there, because my baits were tucked up really nicely underneath, you know, that sort of overhanging opposite sort of margin. So I definitely reckon if they were there, I would have caught one, because everything was done low-key and stealthy, not to, you know, spook or scare anything that may have already been there. So just didn't happen. But I've been for a walk and it's pretty much rammed around there, to be honest. I wish I kind of packed up over there and moved back round here maybe sort of half an hour, 45 minutes or so earlier, because I might have got either the swim down in the very corner or the swim where the other anglers were yesterday that arrived just before me, and I would have been happy at sitting in one of those two swims for the rest of the day. But yeah, I've walked around and it's absolutely rammed out there. There's kind of 1 to 4 anglers on the right hand side, another 3 anglers down on the opposite bank, a family down in the corner, and then two occupying the sort of left hand side swims of the island. So yeah, it's kind of really limited on space. It's either pack up early and just accept that I've had a couple of fish and I've been out, or sit it out in here and just flick a few rods out short whilst everyone else is sort of casting chaotically here, there and everywhere and arguing between themselves, and just, yeah, drop some in short, because a couple did show this morning sort of before I had that fish. So I might just get the rods out, just lower rods in, just underarming them in, no spoon or anything like that, and yeah, just sit on them, put the last of my bait over the top of them, a few handfuls of pellet, just bits and pieces, sit on them for a couple of hours, and then maybe just make the journey home a little bit sooner than I anticipated, to be honest. But I'd rather give it another couple of hours, 2-3 hours in here. Coming up to around 3 o'clock and I'm thinking about calling it a day. I've only seen one fish, and that's right down the other end of the lake, right opposite, and yeah, I've seen nothing else anywhere remotely close to me. I'd add a bream on my middle rod, but I think I'm going to call it a day. Everything is packed away, all bar the rods, everything's tidy, so it's just a case of whipping them in. So if you got this far, thank you for watching. Definitely a lake that I'll be back to. Really like it. My sort of fishing really up close and personal, as like all the other sort of little venues that I try to get myself to. So yeah, thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, leave me a comment below, come and get involved in any of my social media. Happy to chat with you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and yeah, I will catch up with you next time I am out on the bank.